So, we're back to Erin. See progress on the tree. It seems to have lost a lot of its bark at this point.
But the tree will survive. It looks sort of wretched, but the reality is this is like any other wound on a tree. The tree will heal up just fine as long as you don't completely girdle the organism. The phloem and the xylem will continue to send the nutrients up and down the trunk.
The tree doesn't look too healthy. Seems to be half dead around the backside. So often you'll only find lichens on one side. Why is that?
Well, interesting. That's an interesting point.
I mean, so this side is leaning, and do they like a little bit of shelter from all the moisture?
So at present we are in the northern hemisphere, just barely. And that means that the northern facing sides of organisms receive less sun exposure than southern facing sides. And in this case, the southeast is this direction, and the northwest is this direction. So you can see that on this particular tree, the lichens seem to be preferring the drier southern exposed surfaces, whereas on the northern surfaces, it's shadier, cooler, and mosses and liverworts dominate. And that's the same can be said for mosses and lichens in the United States. And then, of course, in the southern hemisphere, the pattern is reversed.
One last little thing right near here is an unusual little log with some bryophytes and a very peculiar itty-bitty little fern. Where is the fern, Erin?
So this is a member of the fern family Hymenophyllaceae, and it is very special and peculiar among plants, among land plants, or among ferns because of its very, very, very thin leaves. So these little things, you can basically hold them up to the light and see right through the leaf. Most filmy ferns, as they're known, are a single cell layer thick, so that they can take all of their nutrients and water in directly from the environment instead of having to pass those nutrients through a very large body of tissue. And here in the Guyana Shield, in the tepuis, because it's so wet, this particular group of plants thrives and does very, very well and is very diverse, and so we are making a special effort to sample them. And this particular species we just pressed this morning, actually. We made a specimen of.
It's especially small. It's barely the size of a moss. You barely recognize it as a fern.
Yeah, and in this case, if you put it side by side, here's a liverwort actually. You can see that the leafy liverwort is much bigger than the fern.